President Trump's 30-day takeover of Washington, D.C.'s police force has come to an end. But in a late-night social media post, the president hinted at possibly extending his control over the Capitol. At 1 a.m., the president posted a long message slamming D.C.'s mayor Muriel Bowser, writing in part, quote, "I'll call a national emergency and federalize if necessary." Last week, Mayor Bowser confirmed she would not allow the Metropolitan Police Force to continue working with immigration enforcement after the president's takeover ended. Other federal agencies are expected to stay. The National Guard troops are set to remain in D.C. at least through November, after the president extended their orders. Meanwhile, President Trump has announced the next city he will send federal law enforcement and National Guard to, and that will be Memphis, Tennessee. The president claimed the city's Democratic mayor, Paul Young, was happy about the arrangement, but here's what the mayor said in an interview on Friday.
Do you want the National Guard in your city?
No, we definitely want a partnership with the federal government on providing the resources that we need. We have seen significant reduction in crime over the last 2 years, and we want to keep that trend going. But we understand that a decision has been made that the federal government and the governor want to send the National Guard, and our goal is to make sure that we have an opportunity to work with them and align what their activities look like when they come into this community.
An ICE official told NBC News that Memphis law enforcement officials do not cooperate with the Immigration Enforcement Agency, and the city is therefore considered to be a sanctuary city. The president has also indicated a desire to send troops to Chicago and New Orleans.
A few things, Jonathan Lemire. Curious what you're hearing out of the White House. The president actually has said positive things about the mayor of Washington, D.C. in the past. That Truth Social post, a little bit different than what he's been saying over the past week or two, that she's actually been working with him. Last night, obviously, took a different tact. Talk about Memphis, why it was chosen, and what we should expect.
Yeah, you're right about Washington here, where the D.C. Metropolitan Police had, and the mayor had sort of signaled they'd be willing to accept some federal help. And obviously, we know the president has far more authority in the nation's capital than he does anywhere else. But now that this time is running to an end, we saw the president on the attack again last night. What's interesting here is he seems to have, at least for the moment, backed off his threat to send these federal law enforcement and National Guard to Chicago, a city that has made very clear they don't want them. The mayor and the state's governor have said we don't want this there. We'll see if the president revisits it. And it's interesting now that New Orleans is on the list still, and Memphis, where it's happening, it's easier when it's a Republican governor who sort of gives more cover to the president deciding to send in those federal assets. So, Senator, let's get your take on this. Memphis does appear to be city number 2 behind Washington in terms of this federal surge. What are your concerns? Are there some good things to come of this, or is this a federal overreach?
Listen, people want to feel safe. That's the first responsibility of government. People need to be safe. They want to feel safe, which is why I don't understand why this president and Republicans in Congress cut the very resources that were needed for local law enforcement in the big ugly bill. And the question for me is, what's the long-term plan? And as someone who serves in communities, who's been a pastor here in New York, in Harlem, in Atlanta, and other places, communities need good relationships with local law enforcement. Right. So sending in the National Guard, that's not a long-term plan. We need community policing. We need to be strengthening the trust between citizens and local police, and sending in the National Guard. Sending in the military, if you will, is an insult to our service members, and I think ultimately it undermines that trust between the police who are actually there on the ground and the local communities.
Yeah, you know, Rev, it's what we've been talking about, you and I, over the past several weeks, the importance of more police officers on the street and also more police officers from the communities. So we have community policing. We have the social programs that unfortunately have been slashed to help with crime in some of the most affected areas, but also that you have more police officers that are hired and trained and come from the communities. That's one. But number two, partnerships. We heard the mayor of Memphis talking about how he wanted to create a partnership with the president. That certainly is what Mayor Bowser has tried to do, has I think succeeded in large part, trying to work with the president in a way that doesn't turn it into a massive battle. What do you see ahead in Memphis?
I think that, and I had Mayor Young on Politics Nation Saturday night, I think what he's saying is correct, that they need the resources. But at the same time, I think where he said he did not ask for the president to send people in or send the National Guard or the military in, he wanted to try and find a mid-ground. And I think that when it comes to crime, people of all races are concerned about crime and concerned that policing does not get criminal. Let's not forget, just 2 years ago, we had the Tyree Nichols case there where 3 black policemen beat a guy to death, Tyrese Nichols. I did the eulogy at his funeral. I had Vice President Kamala Harris there. So it's not as easy as black and white, Senator. It's sometimes how law enforcement is trained, how the community is. Talk about how this ought to be another issue that we could all agree upon, because I don't want to get hurt by a black cop any more than a white cop or a black National Guard. It's about, as Joe said, the community policing together with law enforcement.
Absolutely. Community policing is something that I support. Our law enforcement officials need training so that they know how to engage with local citizens. And then we've got to continue to invest in the kinds of things that create hope and possibility for young people. Recreational programs, workforce development. We need to invest in hope.
Senator, talking of hope, when you speak to your constituents and to your parishioners at a time like this, what do you say to them to give them some sense of hope? Because if you look at the state of America right now, at the end of what was an awful week, there isn't an awful lot that looks very hopeful about the country in this moment, in this level of political violence. Where do you find it?
Well, you know, I serve as pastor of Ebenezer Church. John Lewis was my parishioner. And I often think about him crossing that Edmund Pettus Bridge. I thought about it the night that I was going to preside over his funeral the next day. He literally faced police violence and brute force on the other side of that bridge, and he kept walking. It wasn't that he wasn't afraid, but he kept walking. And I often ask myself, what was he thinking when he was crossing that bridge? You know, not much hope on the horizon. Was he thinking that one day he'd be the recipient of a Presidential Medal of Freedom? I'm sure he wasn't. That at the end of his life, 3 American presidents on both sides of the aisle would show up to pay tribute to him. I think he was just trying to stay alive that day so that he could fight the next day, and somehow he crossed the bridge and built the bridge at the same time. We've got to find ways to build bridges. And I refuse to give up on this country.
Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock of Georgia, thank you very much for coming on the show this morning.
Thank you.
We greatly appreciate it.